You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. We just finished watching the 49ers' final preseason game against the Texans. Unfortunately, it was a loss for the 49ers. They couldn't go undefeated the entire preseason, but oh well. There are bigger fish to fry here, bigger observations to make, and the wins and losses in preseason really don't mean much. But anyway, you guys know I don't normally do these instant reaction episodes, generally because I like to do my deep dive reviews after I've had a chance to rewatch the game at my own pace. You know, I like to rewind, slow-mo things, I like to see all 22, all of that. But this time, I'm going to be moving this weekend. So starting tomorrow, we get the keys. So because of that, I am doing an instant reaction episode instead of my normal, deep dive review. So just want to point out this instant reaction. It might be a little surface level because I haven't had a chance to really watch everything over. I can't wait to watch this game over, by the way, because I think there was just so much to see, especially with this offensive line. I'll get to it in a bit, but can't wait to watch this one over. And so I'll just give my initial observations from what I saw watching this game in real time. I'm sure, we'll all have similar viewpoints on this one. But yeah, so since I'll be moving this weekend, won't be able to do the deep dive. Maybe after I get settled in, I might be able to do one since, the 49ers will play for 17 days. So there's going to be a lot of downtime between right now and week one. So maybe I'll be able to squeeze one in, but I won't be posting much this weekend. Just wanted to let you guys know really quickly before we get into this review. We were so close to getting 25 likes on the last video. That was a goal that I had set for the last video, and we were so close. We got 24 likes. Let's try to get 25 likes on this video. Go ahead, run it up, give us the thumbs up. Let's go, people. Let's go. All right, appreciate it. Okay, now let's talk about this game. All right, so the 49ers, as I mentioned, they lose this preseason game versus the Texans, and I just want to share this quote from Kyle Shanahan. He actually just finished speaking with the media after the game, and he had this really great quote about the preseason. He said, "The preseason is important, but I compare it to the driving range. Whatever happens doesn't matter, but you've got to practice it to get better." So while a lot of these things in the grand scheme of things don't actually matter, preseason wins, who cares? You do have to get these reps. It does teach you a lot. So if there was anyone out there who thought that, Trey Lance getting the reps that he got today was maybe not a big, maybe it didn't do him any favors, I would argue against that because I feel like for Trey Lance, at least, any reps that he gets are valuable, even if he makes mistakes, even if it wasn't a completion. Even if he doesn't have any time to throw, the offensive line, gives up a ton of pressures. It's still a learning experience for Trey Lance. Like at some point in a regular season game, he might have to face similar situations where having these preseason snaps maybe pays off for him. He could, relive some of those moments. Hopefully not, but we'll see. What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for coming on today. I know it's kind of late on a Thursday night. Vivian asked, did Jordan Mason, did he do good? I would say it was interesting for Jordan Mason. I wasn't expecting him to get snaps earlier in the game. Today, we saw him at, I forgot what quarter it was, but it was earlier than we usually see him. Jeff Wilson Jr., he got the start today, and his spot on the roster is pretty safe. Mason got carries before Ty Davis Price and JaMychal Hasty tonight. So I'm not sure what that was about. Trey Sermon got snaps right after Jeff Wilson Jr., but shortly after it was Jordan Mason, which was usual. It was earlier than his usual when he was getting reps in all the other preseason games. So I kind of wondered if maybe if Trey Sermon is on the roster bubble and it's between Trey Sermon and Jordan Mason, maybe they wanted to get a look at Jordan Mason under the same circumstances that they've been seeing Trey Sermon in, because I mean, Trey Sermon has been having a tough go on some of these runs just because the offensive line for a lot of these runs, the blocking has not been great. And so the offensive line has not done Trey Sermon a whole lot of favors. So I don't know. Maybe they wanted to see Jordan Mason behind that same offensive line and see what he could do with that opportunity. I will say I thought Jordan Mason did look better than Trey Sermon. But I also thought Trey Sermon did look better today than he did in the first 2 preseason games. Towards the end, like his last few carries, somewhat tapered off, somewhat more so because of the offensive line, as I mentioned. And I'm sure once I watch this game back, I'll be able to see all of that and point to, okay, who was at fault here? But it's been the same story between both of those guys. Trey Sermon, a little more indecisive, and Jordan Mason is very like instinctual runner. You know, boom, he's gone, and guys don't have a chance to even, you know, make a play on him before Mason even runs by them. That's kind of how I would describe Jordan Mason versus Trey Sermon, right? So, but at the same time, I also feel like Trey Sermon, it's tough out there because I feel like the runs that he's getting out there in these preseason games, that wouldn't be the role that he would be playing in this offense. Like, so somewhat also doing a disservice to him. I think they'd be a little more creative, getting him out in space, things like that. Whereas a lot of times in these preseason games, because he's been starting most of them, or getting just a lot of first team reps in these, he's getting a lot of runs up the middle. He's not in those situational, running opportunities. So I don't know. It's been so tough to evaluate Trey Sermon, and I don't envy the 49ers because I feel like they have a really tough decision to make with this running back group. And Kyle Shanahan, after the game, he was asked about, the running back competition, and he said it'll be a tough call. And he also said, we've always gone through 4 every year. So I think what he meant by that is we always keep 4 running backs, and that's pretty much what we're going to do again. So if that is true, if that's what he meant, we've got Elijah Mitchell, we've got Jeff Wilson Jr., Ty Davis-Price, it was odd. He didn't get any carries until the 4th quarter, which was weird. But you can assume that TDP's spot on this roster is safe. He was a 3rd-round pick this year. So, I don't see the team moving on from him. But I'd put him at the 3rd running back on the roster. And then that leaves you with the last spot. It's between Jermichael Hasty, Jordan Mason, and Trey Sermon. That's just what I would assume if they only keep 4. That's how I see that shaking out. Again, I don't envy the team having to make this tough decision. It feels like year in and year out, around this time of the year, the team has to make a tough decision at running back, and they're faced with that difficult decision once again this time. So, we'll definitely see what the team does. And I'm sure other teams are also going to be seeing what the 49ers do. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Dawson said these 17 days between games is going to be fun. I'm sure there won't be any overreactions happening, right? I mean, I think I've already seen plenty of overreactions on Trey Lance already, but we'll get to that in a bit. Let me get to some of these comments. Melissa, thank you for the compliment on the hat. I do like this hat as well. It has like the has a back. What is this called again? When it's oh my God, I forget what that's called. It's late, but it's a pretty sweet hat. I like this one. Vivian said it's going to be Mason over Sermon. They should put Mason on 4th and inches. I mean, I like Mason. I snap back. Thank you, Ryan. Brain fart, man. Yeah, you can make an argument for every one of these running backs that the 49ers have to choose between for that final spot. If in fact they keep 4 running backs, right, between Hasty, Mason, and Sermon, I feel like you can make a case for all of them as to, why they should stay on the team. But certainly I know that because of how Jordan Mason has looked throughout all of these preseason games, a lot of 49er fans are really pulling for him to make the roster. But yeah, it remains to be seen. And I really feel it's hard to get a sense how the team is leaning towards right now. Like, I don't even think they know. I think they're going to look back at this game, and they have like a week to make a decision on these final roster cuts. So, or almost a week. So, yeah, I think we're going to find out pretty soon. But let's talk about some positives in this game, because I know there's a lot of negatives and there's a lot of overreactions, and it was just a preseason game. Come on. But let's look at some positives, okay? Malik Turner, he's going to make this team, I think. He's going to be the 6th wide receiver. He had a great play on special teams early in the game as a gunner. He had a big hit. Actually, I think did it get called for a penalty? There were penalties all over in this game, first of all. But Malik Turner, he has a pretty solid role. The fact that he could play special teams as well and can contribute as a gunner, I think is a plus for him. Definitely would give him the nod over, guys like Marcus Johnson, Willie Snead, who, dropped that easy touchdown pass from Brock Purdy in the end zone late in that game. That would have given the 49ers at least some points. So I would, I think it's going to be Malik Turner who's going to get a shot at the 6th. And I was actually surprised. I didn't see a lot of Tay Martin in this game. I saw him towards the end of the game. He was there, but I didn't see him get any targets, I don't think. So I think they're going to want to stash Tay Martin on the practice squad, and I'm not mad at it because Tay Martin, he's intriguing. He's made some nice plays throughout training camp, hasn't made a lot of noise in the preseason, so I think they're going to be able to stash him on the practice squad, no problem. Melissa says the positives of today's game was Juwan Jennings and Charlie Warner. Juwan Jennings, I did think looked good tonight, and a couple days ago when I had that, I was on live. We were doing the Zaddy Ball with Jason and Leo. We mentioned Juwan Jennings as one of the fallers of training camp because he's been up and down during training camp, suffered a lot of drops and things like that. Just didn't seem like he was all there, given like what we had seen last year, super clutch and all that. So I liked what I saw out of Juwan Jennings today. I did think he looked good, and he looked like his usual self. So that was good to see. Charlie Warner, it seems like he is the tight end 2 directly behind George Kittle. So it's good that he has that spot. And yeah, he's pretty effective with what he does. It's tough. You guys know I liked Tyler Kroft, but Ross Dwelley also had a good game tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think based on how Ross Dwelley did today, and it's not that he's done anything to really lose his spot on this team. So I think Ross Dwelley has the edge over Tyler Kroft for that final tight end spot. I think Troy Fumagalli is probably going to get cut. He's at the bottom of the tight end totem pole. So Troy Fumagalli, odd man out there, but always a chance for practice squad. And Melissa says she likes Tyler Kroft as well, but Dwelley will rob him of it, sadly. Yes, I mean, I thought Kroft has been solid, but Dwelley has also been solid, and he has the fact that he's been on this team for a few years now under his belt. So definitely the team would probably lean towards Ross Dwelley. Yeah, Mariah says, gotta stash big play Tay, as in Tay Martin, for sure. I think the team likes him, so it was kind of good that he was quiet this preseason. And it's not because he's bad. It's just I don't think he got targeted all that much. Maybe that was the plan. I don't know. But I'm not mad at it. He's probably going to get to the practice squad. And that is okay with me. Yeah. So Malik Turner didn't get flagged on that one play, the special teams play. But yeah, the commentators did whine. It looked like helmet to helmet. But I don't know. I think from another angle, it didn't look like helmet to helmet. Anyway, there were too many flags in this game to begin with, so I'm not going to argue over more. Samuel Womack, another positive in this game. You guys all know he's been a positive in pretty much every one of the 49ers preseason games. He has exceeded like all of our expectations, even still. And today was actually interesting because we saw him getting reps outside. He's been playing as a slot corner up to this point. Although we did hear reports that Deommodore Lenoir in practice this week was getting some looks from the slot corner position. And so because of that, Samuel Womack got the opportunity to get some snaps outside. And so today in this game, we saw that Womack outside, Lenoir getting some looks in the slot. And I think that's great. I mean, Womack once again looked good, even though this was a bit of a change for him. And I think Lenoir likes getting these opportunities in the slot as well. So I think for the 49ers, it's an ideal situation. You get guys who can play different positions, play on the inside or outside. I think it's good for him. And Womack, like I said, he had another great game. He had to play in the first half in the end zone where he was targeted. He got called for a pass interference. That was ticky-tacky, right? That was a ticky-tacky call. There was some contact for sure. But on a similar play where there was a similar amount of contact where the defender was getting handsy on Deebo Samuel, I think it was like the next time the 49ers had the ball, they didn't call that a PI. So I don't know. They're a little inconsistent there, but I digress. I thought it was a good play by Womack regardless, even if he was called for the PI on that one. I like to see the aggression out of him. I like him using his hands. He's got the long arms. And, you know, he puts himself in position to make plays on the ball, and I love that. And we saw that in the play where he was able to, again, getting targeted in the end zone on that fade on the right side. He got aggressive with his hands. He was able to get a hand on it. He tipped the ball up in the air, and that allowed Tarvarius Moore to pick up the interception. Bit of a tip drill, and we just love to see that from Womack. It's just this guy is just able to generate turnovers just by his style of play and how aggressive he is, and I love that about him, this team, this defense, because that sort of play is contagious. When other guys see that it leads to those, not just a pass breakup, but it leads to those turnovers, they're going to want to get in on the action too. And like I've been mentioning, the generating turnovers has been an emphasis for the defense throughout camp. And it's definitely translated. It continues to translate. They would do tip drills in practice. And so I think it definitely helps give guys like a heads up, like you somewhat are better prepared for plays like that, like Tarvarius Moore in, you know, that's a heads up play. I mean, not only are you taking care of whoever you're covering or what you're looking at, but you got to be aware if a ball happens to get tipped up in the air, you have to be able to make a play on it as well. So I think that's really great from, you know, this defense and the secondary, what they've been able to do so far. And especially Samuel Womack, someone I'm definitely excited about for sure. Definitely no fears about him being a starter on this team. He seems 100% ready, and I can't wait to see him play in the regular season. Another guy on the secondary that I thought looked good today was Tariq Castro-Fields. I thought he had a better game. He had the pass breakup in the first quarter, and he was involved on a few tackles today as well. I'd love to see, you know, when I watch the game over, I'm going to pay a little more attention to him and, on those tackles that he was involved in. Should he have maybe been in a better position to make a play? I don't know. These are just things I'll look at. But I thought he had a good game on first glance watching this in real time. Obviously, don't get to see the entire field, but like I said, I saw him on a few tackles, and to me, that gives me a good impression. He also had the one play where he got called for pass interference because he didn't turn his head. Guys, remember, I have brought this up with not with him, but of Tariq Castro Fields before, and so it's somewhat of a theme, something that he tends to do. So I would like him to work on that. I guess we won't see much of him at this point now since the preseason games are over. And I do expect that Tariq Castro Fields probably someone who gets cut, but with the intention of getting him to the practice squad. I think that's definitely something they're going to want to do. There's definitely some room for growth for Tariq Castro Fields, so I think the 49ers are going to want to keep that around. So while it's the last time we'll be seeing Tariq Castro Fields, probably until next year, it feels weird to say, unless there's like some injury, right? But yeah, I mean, I like him though. I hope that they keep him around. Someone who has been improving, I think, over these games. Ryan says, I hate that our corners don't turn for the ball. It seems like that used to be a problem in the past. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it definitely feels like a thing for the younger corners for sure. And, that might just be something that needs to get coached out of them. Definitely was a thing with Ambry Thomas. I feel like Ambry Thomas still does it sometimes, but also like Tariq Castro Fields. So a lot of the younger guys tend to do that where they don't turn their head. And yeah, I mean, definitely something that could be worked on and should be worked on over time. Another positive in this game, I thought Brock Purdy had a good game. He had that impressive dart to Juwan Jennings over the middle for 26 yards. I thought that was the best throw of the night from any of the quarterbacks. He does a great job of getting the balls just right over the defenders. And I'm starting to wonder, and this has been an ongoing discussion for, the quarterback group, right? Because Purdy has looked good through 3 preseason games now. But do you guys think that he looked good enough that the team will want to cut someone else in favor of Purdy to make this 53? Do they keep 3 quarterbacks on this roster? If you guys have been watching my recent videos where I've discussed this, I've been leaning no. I still lean no. I still think this team rolls with Trey Lance and Nate Sudfeld. But sorry, hold on. My cats are fighting. I got to get the spray bottle. They know what's going on. They're running away now. All right, sorry. Just cat mom things. But yeah, I think Brock Purdy, I kind of wonder. He's looked good, but I still don't think that the team is going to, being as deep as they are, I don't picture Brock Purdy being saved in favor of someone else and potentially a position of greater need, right? I mean, how often is your third string quarterback going to actually play in the season? So that's what I wonder. And if the answer is no, then that's not a very valuable, roster spot for Brock Purdy to be taken up. So I understand the risk of, if the 49ers do release Brock Purdy, there's the risk that another team is going to want to pick him up. I understand that. I think the 49ers understand that, but I think they're okay with that. And I think I've been thinking that it's a little exaggerated to think that someone's going to pick him up or swoop him up, because he didn't exactly light it up. It's not like he was scoring touchdowns left and right, putting up, 100, 200-yard performances. He didn't light it up. He was solid. And solid is good. We like solid. It's good enough for the practice squad. but it isn't good enough, in my opinion, to protect him, your third string quarterback, over another position of greater need. Which, we could talk about the safety position, we could talk about the offensive line, defensive line, other positions who I think deserve a look at keeping, an additional guy instead of someone like Brock Purdy. No hate on Brock Purdy, though. I think he's been great. I like him. Yeah. Melissa says Purdy looked antsy like Mullins tried to do too much, especially that last series was trash. There is a lot of Nick Mullins and Brock Purdy for sure, and I think that's one of the reasons that, this team liked him to begin with, and I think they're going to continue to like him. They're going to want to keep him around on the practice squad for sure, much like they did with Nick Mullins. So, yeah, I mean, he's not your future or anything. He's not going to be a future starter in the league, but there's potential to be a good backup there, and I think that's fine. Yeah, Melissa says 2 quarterbacks, 1 on practice squad. We need the depth on 53 elsewhere. Yes, I absolutely agree. Before I get to the negatives, because right now we went through all the positives, all right? We were in happy land for a bit, and I'm going to turn to negative land a little bit. But before I do that, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Make sure you like this video. I appreciate it. We're trying to get to 25 likes on this one, so let's run it up. Thank you. Yeah, so let's talk about Trey Lance, because Trey Lance got to play 3 drives in this game. As we are every time Trey Lance steps onto the field, we are excited when he's gets the opportunity, when he gets reps. We want to see what he can do. Unfortunately for us and Trey Lance and everyone, he wasn't able to do a whole lot because this offensive line was just miserable out there. Trey Lance, as I mentioned, played 3 drives. Kyle Shanahan actually said he wished he was able to keep him out there longer, but he didn't get that opportunity. What do you guys think that means? Is he talking about the offensive line? And that's why he wasn't able to keep him out there longer, because he didn't want to get his guy killed, Trey Lance, that is. Yeah, that could be why. I would have liked to see Trey Lance play a little bit more, but I also don't want him getting hurt in a preseason game because the offensive line, couldn't block. So, yeah, I think it was just a terrible performance from the offense as a whole. I mean, even Kyle Shanahan said it was a little sloppy and, just not a good game. So Trey Lance finished 7 of 11 for 49 yards, and he was also sacked once. It could have been more than that, but I guess we'll just take the 1 sack. He was pressured several more times. And honestly, it just felt it was hard to evaluate Trey in this one. I mean, anyone making statements about Trey Lance's performance based on this preseason game alone probably didn't even watch the game, because he had no type of chance to, really make anything happen. There were a few things I saw in real time. Like when I watch the game over, I might see it differently, but watching it in real time, I thought there were some things he could have done better. For example, there was the one throw to George Kittle, the ball hit George Kittle in the hands, led him a little too far on that one. He threw it just a bit too ahead of George Kittle, and so Kittle couldn't reel it in. So, on those, we've been seeing a lot of those lately, but on those, I tend to think that, if the receiver can get hands on it, he should catch it. But at the same time, could have been a better throw by Trey Lance as well, for sure. There was also another play where I think it was on a 3rd down, and I noticed George Kittle had a route that, kind of had a break right after the sticks, and Trey Lance, he was being pressured. He had pressure in his face, but I feel like Trey Lance had a moment that he could have made an anticipation throw to George Kittle before he got out of his break, to make that throw and have it be beyond the stakes. It would have been a 1st down. Instead, there's a lot of panic. Like I said, he was being pressured. Trey Lance took the check down. I forgot to which. I think it was to Jeff Wilson Jr., one of the running backs, and it ended up being short of the sticks. So obviously that ended up being a fourth down, and your drive is pretty much dead at that point. These are the kind of things we'd see a lot with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. Like, always taking the checkdowns, which I'm not opposed to checkdowns. I think it's a good thing for quarterbacks to have that outlet, and definitely young quarterbacks. I've appreciated the fact that Trey Lance, knows when to take those, checkdowns, get any yardage. But when it's third down and you need to get beyond the sticks, that one was a little tough. But I don't know. I'm going to have to watch that one again and see, try to see what Trey was seeing. And, maybe there was something that I missed. Again, looking at things in real time, there's some things that you don't see that if you watch it over, you might catch. So, I can't wait to watch this game over. But yeah, it was a tough go for the offense altogether. Couldn't get really anything going, and that goes beyond Trey Lance, right? Like, we saw Nate Sudfeld, Brock Purdy not really being able to sustain drives, certainly didn't get any points on the board. I mean, so I think a lot of that we can attribute to the offensive line. So let's talk about the offensive line, because that was another negative in this game, and they struggled mightily. They gave up pressures left and right, and I don't think there was anyone on this offensive line through the first unit, second unit, third unit, whatever. I don't think anyone had a clean sheet. I think everyone gave up at least one pressure based on what we saw. Some guys gave up multiple. Okay, Jalen Moore, he's back out there. So Jalen Moore, he missed most of training camp. Okay. And so he didn't really, I don't know when he started practicing again. I don't recall seeing any of the beat reporters say when he returned to practice. Maybe I missed that. I don't know. But he hasn't been back for very long. So he missed most of training camp, and he gets thrown out there to play left tackle, to start at left tackle. And I'm glad that Trent Williams didn't play in this game. Don't get me wrong. But that's a tough ask for Jalen Moore, who didn't even really get a chance to practice much leading up to this game. And suddenly we're supposed to expect him to look good. I mean, I'm not surprised that he struggled. And I wouldn't automatically, count him out or, say he should get cut just based off of this game. I think it's tough, right? Because there's still, like I said, there's 17 games before the season. Jalen Moore hasn't had a lot of opportunities, like I said, in training camp to really get those reps. So, this was really his first time to show what he had in these preseason games this year. So, yeah, it was definitely tough for him. Spencer Burford, he had 2 holding calls. I believe he allowed some pressures as well. McKivitz, he was beat a few times. Hughes on the Texans, I don't know what his first name is, but he was giving this offensive line problems. So, I mean, credit to the Texans really quick. Credit to the Texans defense. I think they made a lot of improvements this offseason. But man, yeah, I mean, it was tough sledding for the offensive line. Keaton Sutherland, cut candidate, and that's being nice. Like, he's getting cut. I hate to say that. I mean, these are guys' lives and jobs, right? But as respectfully as I can say, Keaton Sutherland, I don't think is going to be making this team. Maybe there's a practice squad opportunity for him. Who knows? But he has not looked very good throughout these preseason games. And he looked bad out there. He was getting beat quite a lot. And yeah, I mean, when I watch the game over and I see the all 22, I'll be able to, dissect the offensive line a little bit more and see who really got beat. But just from like watching real time, that's what I noticed. I saw, like I said, Jalen Moore having a rough go, Burford as well, McKivitz and Sutherland were the ones that stood out the most to me in this one. But really, everyone across the board did not have a great game on the offensive line. After the game, Kyle Shanahan was asked about the starting offensive line, actually, interesting enough. And he said, "We're definitely not deciding that stuff tonight. We've got a lot more practice to do." So that's interesting because it means that who we have been seeing or projecting as a starter as starters on this offensive line, just based on what we've been seeing in camp practices and joint practices, that doesn't necessarily mean these guys are a lock to start. So I think that's very interesting to me. And he said we've got a lot of more practice to do. So Kyle Shanahan definitely wants to get another look at these guys and give some other guys an opportunity to maybe supplant some of the starters. I don't know. I would say maybe I don't want to make any assumptions about who he might be talking about. Certainly, like Mike McGlinchey, when he's healthy, the right tackle spot is his. Colton McKivitz, like I said, in place of Mike McGlinchey, has struggled. So I don't know. That could be someone who could get a second look. Jalen Moore as well. I mean, but I also think, like I mentioned, it's been tough because he just got back from his injury and he just started practicing again, and he got thrown into this one. So I don't know. That one's tough as well. I don't know. The offensive line does worry me. It has been worrying me. I hope that they decide who the starters are going to be sooner than later, and we can just see those guys getting opportunities and having those guys practice together, because they need to build that cohesion. They're not going to look good until they build that. Of course, individual performance is also important on the offensive line, but cohesion is just as important. Being able to gel, move together as one is important. I think the one thing that I'm going to tell myself to make myself feel better about the offensive line is the fact that it's preseason and it's not like Kyle Shanahan is running, anything like super complex. This is a lot of vanilla stuff going on. And, maybe in the regular season, when he's calling his plays, he get his guys and, better blocking. I don't know. I feel like when the regular season starts, he's a little more creative and it gets guys on the move and it opens things up for running backs and things like that. I just hope that the offensive line looks better in the regular season. And I've said this and I maintain this opinion that if the offensive line struggles at the beginning of the season, I won't be surprised. I think it's going to take them a few weeks to, like I said, gel, cohesion. It's a thing, all right? Once they get in the groove of playing together, it all kind of falls into place. But the first few weeks are going to be rough. I hope it's not as rough as tonight, but I think we can expect at least some struggles from the offensive line, at least to start the season. But yeah, beyond that, like the game was just riddled with penalties. That's another thing that Kyle Shanahan said that, they got to work on and clean up, but they got time to do it. All right. 17 days before week 1, definitely clean up those, little mistakes here and there. So I'm sure they'll work on that. These practices leading up to week 1, the media isn't allowed to be there. So beat writers, things like that, we're all in the dark, okay, until week 1. So we don't really have any closure to the preseason and we'll find out week 1 how this team is going to look. But yeah, like I said, credit to the Texans. I think they looked good throughout this game. And Melissa pointed out the run D was concerning. Yeah, I liked the Texans running backs. Actually, Damian Pierce looks good. Marlon Mack, I mean, I think Marlon Mack gave us fits when we played the Colts. Was it last year or the year before that? So I mean, he's good too. So yeah, I mean, the run defense, I know that was a little sloppy as well. I feel like there were some missed tackles, early in the game. Overall, though, I'm not worried about the defense. I think, though, a lot of the defensive starters were out in this game, so I'm not going to put too much stock into how, run defense looked, or definitely the defense as a whole on that first drive. The Texans offense, it was a little shaky for the defense, but I'm not worried about it. I mean, it's going to look completely different when Nick Bosa is out there and Kinlaw and Armstead. So, yeah, it's fine. I'm not worried about the defense in the slightest. Yeah, Ryan said the Texans showed up to play. Hats off for sure. I actually think they're an underrated team right now. They picked up a lot of guys who I actually liked in the draft. I mean, Stingley's one of them, but I also liked Petrie as well. And they got a good squad of guys, a lot of young up and coming players. So I like their team. And I like David. Is it David Mills or Davis Mills? I like Mills. He's pretty solid as well. Melissa says, talking about the offensive line, she says they keep changing it. They haven't had the chance to gel, and they're young. Yes, that's kind of been my issue with like the center position. They went back and forth on that all training camp, and I mean, now it's Jake Brendel. Daniel Brunskill got hurt. I wonder if Daniel Brunskill, when he's healthy, if he's gonna go back to right guard. I know Spencer Burford's there right now, but he's looked up and down as well. So I don't know if they're gonna like shy away from having Burford start just based on some of the things that he's shown lately. Who knows? I don't know. But like Kyle Shanahan said, they still got a lot of more practice to do. He's not deciding the offensive line starters tonight. And so there could be some changes still. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, what's going on? If you guys are just joining, make sure you subscribe if you aren't already, and make sure you like this video. We're trying to get to 25 likes, so we need all hands on deck to like this video. Let's get to 25 likes on this one. Appreciate it. Let's keep talking about this game. Yeah, Dawson said, Davis Mills, most underrated quarterback of his class, it seems. Definitely underrated. I liked him. I thought he looked good last year. And I honestly, a lot of people were like, the Texans should trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I actually like what Davis Mills showed last season. I thought he was solid enough that, if I'm the Texans, I'm excited about Mills. And, I want to see what he can do leading a team, right? So I wasn't mad at them for sticking with Mills. All right, we're at 12 likes. Okay, that's okay. We'll get those up. So if you guys are watching this, let's get another like going. So I already talked about the running backs, but I'll just kind of recap what I mentioned about the running backs. That I thought Trey Sermon looked better in this game than he did in the first 2 preseason games. And Kyle Shanahan said that they've always kept 4 running backs every year, so I expect that to continue. And based on that, Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., Ty Davis Price. I mean, I count Ty Davis Price as safe because he was the 3rd round draft pick this year. I don't think he's going anywhere. So to me, he's safe. And so that leaves you the last running back roster spot between Jermichael Hasty, Jordan Mason, and Trey Sermon. So the team has a tough decision to make there. I mean, I think Hasty, if he gets cut, it's like no harm, no foul, because I think there's a good chance he'll revert to the practice squad. The team has cut Hasty before, and no one else has picked him up. So I wouldn't entirely expect that to change. I know a lot of people say Dolphins. Dolphins are stacked at like running back right now. I don't think they're gonna be clamoring over a Hasty, you know. But yeah, it really comes down to Jordan Mason and Trey Sermon, really, if you see it that way. So it'll be interesting what this team does at the running back position. I am so anxious to know what the hell happens. But regardless, you know, this is the struggle. This is like a first world problem for this team, okay? It's because we have so many good running backs, so we don't even know which one to keep. It's kind of like the same with the defensive line, right? Like, it's an embarrassment of riches. So it's not a bad situation to be in. And I know fans are going to be there's going to be a corner of fans that are pissed off regardless of what happens and which running back the team decides to keep or cut. But hey, it's because there's a lot of depth at the position. And Elijah Mitchell, I like Jeff Wilson Jr. A lot of 49er fans are like, maybe they want to trade him. Maybe he's going to get cut. Oh, stop that. Stop that. All right. Anyway, so that's the running back group. Interesting enough, before the game, John Lynch told the Amazon, by the way, I liked the Amazon Prime stream today. I thought they have an awesome crew. I don't know what you guys thought. I didn't like the other commentator guy, the one that kept talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, the broadcast dude, but everyone else, like Richard Sherman was awesome. Fitzpatrick was awesome. I really like the squad that they have. Anyway, John Lynch, before the game, he talked to the Thursday Night Football crew, and he said that Jimmy Ward will be placed on the short-term IR list to start the season. No bueno. This is not good. I'm more worried about that than what the offensive looked like tonight. So if he's going to be on short-term IR to start the season, it means that he's going to miss at least the first 4 games, at least, because again, it was a significant hamstring injury. Those are tricky. They tend to linger. So it's important that a player is 100% before they try to come back from a hamstring injury, in particular, a significant hamstring injury, because you don't want that lingering. You don't want to re-aggravate it. So 49ers, because of that, they want to go the safe route, say just have him go on the short-term IR, miss at least the first 4 games. Just as a reminder, that move, even though they've announced it already, it won't happen until after the initial 53 roster is announced because Jimmy Ward has to make the 53. Okay, so they got to announce that first, and then they'll put him on the short-term IR. So don't expect that move to happen, in a few days. And if it doesn't happen in a few days, don't get excited and be like, oh, maybe they're not putting Jimmy Ward on the short-term IR. No, it's definitely happening. It's just going to happen after the cut down to 53. So first 4 games, Jimmy Ward is going to miss. It's a huge blow. The first 2 games, I'm not too mad at. The defense is going to be just fine without him against the Bears and the Seahawks. What I'm most worried about is starting week 3. Week 3, 49ers have to play a primetime game in Denver against the Broncos, against Russell Wilson. Yeah, I'm a little worried that Jimmy Ward is not going to be out there. Game after that, against the Rams. Yeah, I'm worried Jimmy Ward won't be out there. Kyle Shanahan did say, he acknowledged it is a big deal, but I think we've got the guys to weather the storm. So who are those guys? Who will be the starting free safety in Jimmy Ward's place while he's out? We can assume it's going to be George Odom. Maybe. He's been getting those starting reps with Jimmy Ward out. Could be Tarvarius Moore. A lot of the team likes him. Could be Dante Johnson. Dante Johnson has been out because he's been hurt, but we know the team likes Dante Johnson, right? So he's also an option. So they have those guys, and we'll see who they use. I mean, regardless, it is a drop off from Jimmy Ward, but they're gonna have to make do, right? I tend to think that the secondary overall will be okay just because they're playing behind this defensive line, and this defensive line is going to be a problem for a lot of offenses. So I think that's going to be the saving grace more often than not. But still, I mean, there are things that Jimmy Ward does for this team, for this defense, that is irreplaceable. And so, again, I like George Odom. I like Tarvarius Moore. Hey, maybe sometimes I even like Dante Johnson. But they're not Jimmy Ward, so it is going to be a drop-off in production for sure from the free safety position, at least the first four games of the season. And I was wondering, like, do we see the 49ers make a move for a safety or even for an offensive lineman should there be a surprise cut by another team in the league? Who knows? What if Jaquiski Tartt gets cut by the Eagles? Should the 49ers get on the phone and start calling, try to get Tartt back? I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Kyle said that we've got the guys to weather the storm. So to me, it sounds like, maybe they won't feel pressed to, sign someone else. They already signed Gibson, who played in this game as well. Of course, Gibson, he got some run today. I don't know. He's also an option, but I highly doubt it. I don't know. He hasn't had a lot of time to be around the team, so probably a long shot to make the roster as well. It'll be interesting to see what they do. The 49ers, the biggest question marks heading into week one, and you hate to have any question marks heading into week one, but for me, what do they do at free safety with Jimmy Ward out the first 4 games of the season? What do they do at offensive line? Do they, play a little switcheroo? Do they move some guys around? Do we see different starters than we've been seeing in training camp come week one? I don't know. And the last question mark, but this is a minor question mark, like I said, an embarrassment of riches, a first world problem kind of question mark. Who do we see the 49ers keep between Trey Sermon, Jermichael Hasty, and Jordan Mason? Because I do think it's between those 3 guys for the fourth spot in the running backs group. So we'll find out. The 49ers play again in 17 days. They have decisions to make to get down to 53 players. 27 guys that we saw play today are going to be cut, in the next week. So we're going to see what the team does. There's a lot of players, I'm sure, we're both thinking, yeah, he's definitely not going to make the team. There's some others that, not so sure. But regardless, we're going to find out pretty soon. But guys, there's 17 games until week one. Don't get too crazy on here. Don't get wrapped up in these crazy overreacting, discussions on Twitter or, wherever. Okay. Things are going to be okay. The preseason is not always a reflection of what's going to happen in the regular season. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Just really quickly, once again, going to ask you to like this video if you haven't already. I'm also going to remind you that I won't be posting any videos this weekend because I'm going to be moving. Also, when I get the all 22, I'll try to put those videos up. So in the comments, if you guys want to tell me who you guys want to see all 22 of from this game, if you guys want to see every snap from that one player in this game against the Texans, let me know. I will cut that up for you guys and put it out. But appreciate it. Another bit of news, I'm also going to be changing my username, my YouTube username, and my Twitter username over the weekend. I'm going to be renaming everything to Steph 49K. It's just easier for discoverability and things like that. Nobody knows what the hell Strigosaurus is, but you guys all know Steph. So I am going to rename all my usernames to Steph 49K. So if you guys see that change, don't be alarmed. Don't be like, who the hell is this? I never subscribed to this person. Yes, you did. It's just me. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and have a good rest of your night, and have a great weekend if I don't talk to you guys